Hello everyone, it's Robin the Delta Crafter, and I want to thank you for joining me for another video on my YouTube channel. Spellbinders just came out with a new release of some holiday themed dies. I have two sets to show you, and one of them I'll be using for a card. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. So the first set that I'm showing you is the Noel Mini Slimline set from Spellbinders. This is the set that I'll be using to make a mini slimline card. The other set is the Joyful Flourish set from also from Spellbinders. But we're going to be focusing again on using the Noel Mini Slimline set. I thought I was going to be able to slide in a hot foil sentiment from this Holiday Sentiment Series 2 set, but at the end I decided not to use that. I am going to be using an unusual color palette for these for this holiday card. I'll be using a piece of accent opaque cardstock and 120-pound weight for the card base. And then I'll also be using a bright pink as well as a dark purple for the color palette. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to create my mini slimline card base. So you can see here I've written down the measurements for us. Our finished card base should be 3.5 by 6 1/4. Our starting piece will be 7 inches by 6 1/4. So we're going to take that 7-inch side and we're going to crease it down the middle, and then we're going to fold it in half to give us our mini slimline card base. Then we're going to also have a card panel that goes on top, and I wanted this card panel to cover up the entire card base. So it too is 3.5 by 6 1/4. So to ensure that I get my score line exactly in the middle and where I want it to be for my card base, I'm going to use my scoring tool, and I'm going to score my card base at the 3.5 mark on my my scoring tool. And that's going to give me the perfect alignment for the middle of my card base. So you can see there that the dark purple piece covers the card base completely. I wanted to give a little bit of texture and dimension to this card base. So I'm going to go in at every half inch, and I'm going to score the long length of the card panel. That's just going to give us, when I flip it over, just a little bit of texture and dimension. This paper is already textured, but I wanted to take it up just another notch, and so that's why I included those scored lines. So this piece right here is actually two pieces, two dies, and you can see that I have them taped together here. The reason why I have them taped together is because that middle part with all the perforations does not have a cutting edge. So if I was to use that piece alone, I would not get my design, or my die would not cut out my entire piece there. And because I do want that completely cut out, I went ahead and taped those two together to make sure that I get great alignment. Now I brought that piece back after I've run it through my die cutting machine, and you can see there are some little remaining little parts and pieces there from on the perforation part. So I'm just going to take my Tim Holtz poker tool and poke through those holes to get those little remaining pieces that are being a little stubborn. I'm going to poke those out. The next layer that I'm going to have on my card is going to be out of this hot pink or fuchsia colored paper. So I'm just going to tape that down with some Easy C tape, tape the die down with the Easy C tape, run that through my die cutting machine, and that's going to give me the inner panel for my my mini slimline design. So you can see now, you can get an idea of how we're going to layer up these pieces to get us the card that we're going for. Off camera, I went ahead and die cut the little holly background and the holly leaves, as well as the Noel sentiment, and a couple of different layers of white cardstock so I can layer up that Noel sentiment. All of these pieces are included in the die set, which is another thing that I really like about this set. I'm going to layer these white leaves onto the dark purple greenery base, but I didn't want them to be stark white. So I'm going to bring in a little bit of picked raspberry distress ink. This color matches perfectly with that hot pink color that I chose. And so I'm just going to ink up some of those leaves in order to give them a little bit of color and help them stand out on this purple background. But also it will help incorporate and continue our color scheme. These leaves have 2 leaves that point to the right and 1 leaf that points to the left. So it's important as you're getting ready to place your leaves down that you kind of do what I did was I separated the left pointing leaves from all the right pointing leaves so that when I get ready to glue them on, as I'm doing here, I can have all the leaves that match up with the base correctly. So now that I've gotten all my little leaf clusters together, now I'm going to glue these 2 pieces of Noel, the white cardstock, together, and I'm going to glue this gold metallic mirrored cardstock on top. Now this sentiment is very intricate and delicate. It's very thin, so you'll need to have some patience when you're putting this together, but it is definitely worth it. As you can see, the die cuts like butter, but again, for assembly, you just need to have a little bit of patience. I've placed an acrylic block on my sentiment to weigh it down to make sure all the glue adheres well. And now I've gone ahead and applied some foam tape to the back of our hot pink panel to pop it up once it's placed and positioned on the white perforated panel. I've done the same thing to the white perforated panel by adding some foam tape so it too can have some dimension and sit up a little bit from that purple panel that we created with the score lines earlier. So I'm kind of tilting the panels just a little bit to make sure that my alignment is straight as possible. So now moving back to our holly leaf clusters, I decided to bring in some gold baubles from Pink Fresh Studio to add as our little berry centers in the middle of our clusters. So to adhere the leaves as well as the baubles, I'm using some Barely Arts glue that I've, liquid glue, which is one of my favorites to use for assembly of my cards. I decided to do sort of a dry fit to kind of figure out exactly what placement I want for all my pieces that I've created for this card. I like the way I have the leaves clustered at the top left corner and the bottom right corner, so I'm going to stick with that. And now I'm going to add again that Barely Arts glue to my sentiment to add that to our hot pink panel and get that all secured down nice. Now it's time to secure those holly clusters down, and again, Barely Arts glue is my choice to add that to secure those to the card panel. So I've got the bottom right corner secured, and now I'm securing the two on the top left, and that is going to complete those clusters and have those down. I really like the way this card is coming together. I really encourage you to think outside the box when it comes to your holiday color palettes for your cards. I know a lot of people who decorate their homes in unusual color palettes for the holidays. I'm one of those people, me included. And so, again, encourage you to think outside the box when it comes to your color palettes. So the last step that I'm going to do is secure our card panel to our card base that we created earlier. And with that, this card is complete. I did go ahead and make a second card that is in a more traditional holiday color scheme. It's light blue, silver, and white. I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. And while that's coming up, I did want to take an opportunity to thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel for another video. You can always find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Delta Crafter, as well as on my blog, thedeltacrafter.com. I'll have a coordinating post that goes along with this video that will help all the products that I used today listed and linked for your ease. Thank you again, everyone, and I hope you have a great day. Enjoy!